The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of the streaming platforms, public access channels, the Kitty Rose lifestyle, or the program underwriters.
Tim's on my feet, stomping out the negativity. Everybody not a friend of me. Spread the love, still I move deliberately. Bully face on, but the smile be heavenly. Brooklyn girls, so they love the energy. Love sincerity, so I take the liberty to take them on a journey lyrically. Through hallways and alleys, dark days.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray. I am your host, Minister Cat, aka Kitty Rose. Hey everyone. So, what do you guys think so far? We've done 4 segments, really technically 3 segments so far of this Parenting Now series. Has anything resonated with you? Have you saw yourself in the stories? Has anything been helpful? Well, for many of you, maybe you haven't even seen any of this series yet. And then for some of you who have, I thought today would be a good way to segue into a recap. So that is what this topic of the week is going to be. It's actually going to be a recap of what we've done so far in this Parenting Now series, right? As I mentioned to you guys before, I wanted to do 9 segments of this, or I think 7 segments, but 9 is my favorite number, so it might just be 9. But 7 to 9 segments of these parenting talks that I wanted to present to kind of not only assist myself in this new navigating space of parenting, but also helping others that was going through what life is now like as an empty nester and parenting adult children. So I figured the best way to do that was not go over verbally what we've done, but actually show you some of the clips of the shows that we've done so far halfway through this grant submission series. So let's check out the first video. The first video was done before we even got here to La Centrale. The first video was done at Lehman, our studio home for BronxNet Television. So let's go check it. That actually started, unbeknownst to me, when I was having a segment with Quinnell's Check-ins. And Quinnell's Check-ins at this particular location at Lehman's, we were discussing parenting adult children. Here's a glimpse. I'm gonna watch it with you so we can have our reactions at the same time. Let's go to it. Keeping my mind right, keeping myself at a place of peace, even helps me get the information I need to be able to parent better, because then I'm able to receive without my own but wait interjection. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that about stress. I think that what we don't give enough credit to is how sneaky stress can be. And we don't even have to know that we're stressed. Sometimes we think that stress is only recognizable exactly when it hits us, when it kind of hits the fan. But you need to take time every day to make sure that you're doing that self-care so that you're not moving from a place of criticism like we were talking about earlier, but also moving from a place of impulsivity. So stress will have you moving and being reactive and saying things that you don't really mean to say, and then you calm down, you're like, wow, I didn't mean to say that. Like, I shouldn't have said that. So it is absolutely necessary to get your stress relief and get your self-care. And the other thing that they said in the video,
Please.
Another thing they said in the video was to make sure that you parent your child based off of how your child's actions are. And you were asking me earlier, what do you do? Do you set boundaries? And I say, yes, you set boundaries, but you also have check-ins with your child. If you think about you all both moving day to day, now you all are 2 adults. You have work going on, you have work stress, you have life, you have relationships, all of these stresses that are happening outside of the home. If you don't check in with your child and make sure like, hey, can we have a time to sit and talk about this? Again, that what I just did, if you are mindful of that, is very much a calm approach, right? You want to make sure that you're not on 10 when you're approaching your child, because you don't want to come across as critical or like, I'm the parent, you live in my house, you still have to do things my way. So you just want to be mindful of your approach. But the check-ins to say like, hey, what's going on with you? You can talk about what's going on with yourself, but that is how you get to have those discussions around like, so when do you think that you might want to move? Are you thinking about moving? Or just saying like, hey, I actually like this space. I've been thinking about doing XYZ with the space. And I think that in maybe 2 years, X amount of years, whatever it is that you want to have your child do, it's a conversation.
What about the money? Do you still borrow money from your parents?
I do not borrow money, but something that's happening now, I think I'm just a little bit more independent. And, you know, when we started the show, you asked me, am I 30? I'm like, go up. I think that, you know, what my parents will do now, and this is, I think, a part of parenting an adult child. Sometimes, and you said you miss your child, I think sometimes your parent still wants to know that they can help.
Okay.
And they still want you to know that they're there, right? So it's one of those
Is that
things.
a personal and clinical opinion?
So that one was actually personal, the second part. They just want you to know that they're there. But I think from a clinical standpoint, all parents want to still be involved. All parents want to still help as much as they can in a way that makes sense to them, that they're willing to do. So that might not mean lend you money, no. But that might mean, you know what, I'm going to cook for you, or I'm going to call you on the phone and ask you, did you eat today? Or I'm going to remind you of certain things, because parents just want to be involved. That's clinically.
Okay. So when it comes to, let's just say, the money situation for a minute, how do parents who are not necessarily who are co-parents but don't live together, and then their significant other has an opinion on, well, why are you still doing this for your adult children? Or, you know, or like my significant other, his daughter's 36, you know, she's damn near a grown woman. So well, no, I'm sorry.
She's
a grown.
Your kids are never going to be grown. I'm so sorry, kids. I'm so sorry.
She's a grown woman. I know. I'm working on myself. No, but like I said, this was for me because I know that I'm still in this next chapter and I'm still so fresh as a newly empty nester. So I don't want to mess up because I do enjoy the relationship I'm building with my adult children. I don't want to go backwards. I just want to continue to grow and be a better parent. And you're absolutely right. I do come from a place of still wanting them to know I'm there. But I think some of us come from a place of wanting still to have a level of control.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's something that we have to kind of step away from. You know what I'm saying? And I think that letting go that level of control, is difficult. Because we've been in control since day one for damn near at least 17 years. Even if they're still living in our house, we're thinking that they're doing one thing and they're doing something else, there's still what we think is going on in our head, control. So for us not to have control in their decision making, like they don't even have to ask you. You know, my daughter just left the country, excuse me. She's 20 and she just left the country with her boyfriend. But she ain't asked me for a dime, so I can't say nothing. But I'm also like, well, did you ask? And what time of the year is this going? And she's like, excuse me.
You know, something about that, I want to ask you and not assume, because, you know, you brought that up. What is the worst thing that could happen if you relinquish that control? In your mind, why are you holding so tight?
I make myself laugh. How many of you guys remembered that episode? Wow, right? Some time ago. It's crazy how fast time goes. That's another thing that is an illusion, time, because that was almost a year ago. Wow. So, what stood out in that clip? First of all, if you need a refresher, go to my YouTube channel and you'll see all the series of shows that we did last year and this year here at Lehman and L'Entrée Trial, and I think also at Mercy. But what stood out to you? What stood out to me is, one, how sneaky stress can be. Very much so. So that's why I definitely agree with self-care. Even now, being mindful of what self-care or how important self-care is, because self-care can come from a place of you being irritated about something else, and because the adult children are the ones who's in the house, they kind of get like the brunt end of it. And I have to say that I have definitely can say that I can be accused of that, even as something as recently as this week. I'm going through my own emotional ups and downs, and I'm doing my best not to carry that over to the way that my attitude is towards the adult children in the house. But I kind of do feel like they've been picking up on the vibe. And from them picking up on the vibe, obviously now they're getting the brunt of that irritation or that sadness and even anger. What I also saw or stood out to me was the check-ins with your child. When your children begin to move, and even when they live at the house with you. I have adult children who don't live at home, and I have now my youngest adult child who is home for a short period of time as she finishes college. And what I notice is that, excuse me, her schedule is still quite as busy as when she was away at school. So in order for me to have any quality time, I still kind of have to have like the check-ins or the schedules of, well, how's things going? How are you doing? What's going on? She started back school. How was orientation? She went on vacation with her boyfriend. We'll have maybe breakfast together, or we'll have lunch and watch something on television, and really not watch something on television, but that'll kind of be a moment that we could kind of check in, or I could check in as a parent, because again, I do believe that what happens is that we are upset that we are not in control anymore. When you are parenting now adult children, it comes to a place where you kind of have to respect them, value their opinion, you know what I'm saying, and allow them to be these adults that you have instilled common sense to. So it is to a point that you must let go. I don't know if you guys remember months ago, I might have shared this with you guys, but years ago, my oldest son said to me, "Trust what you have taught us." Okay, so the second video is, I'm sorry, before we go to a second video, let's take a break.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you'll go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
Oof. Okay, so our second video is where I had the conversation with Cornell about about parenting adult children. But I was also kind of prepping myself and other parents about what life now looks like as an empty nester, because so many of us currently in the month of September, well, August and September, we have sent our children off to school. So now, what does life look like as an empty nester? So let's check out the video 2 that I did, and we'll come back and discuss it with you. I have now become the long distance mom, even with my child who lives in the city because he doesn't live with me. So even with Eric, I'm still a long distance mom. It's so weird because we're in October. Eric, my middle son, who's 25, went away 2 months ago. And I still haven't even had dinner with him to talk about his trip that he went to over the summer, just because our schedules have been so crazy. But what I also found interesting was the selective mom, the filtered mom, because being in control really, like I talked about last week, was the issue that we have parenting adult children, because we've been in so control, handling the day-to-day needs of our children for so long since the beginning, that now them having to decide what they want to share with us is interesting. Like, my daughter is only 3.5 hours away from me, but she doesn't check in when she's coming home from the club. She doesn't let me know when her and her girlfriends are going out. Her and her boyfriend, I told you guys last week, they just went on vacation, and I didn't get asked permission. You know what I'm saying? She didn't. I mean, of course, she called me when they was at the airport, and she called me when they landed. But I mean, I didn't have any say so in when they were going, how long they were going for, if they was staying in separate rooms. Like, I had no say so. So I think that that's probably definitely one of the biggest struggles that we go through as empty nesters, is now being this filtered parent, this selective parent, where they get to decide what they want to share with us. I got one more part of this video I want to share. Let's go to it again, and then we'll break that down.
How long do you wait before you say, hey, come clean up your shit or else it's gone?
Christmas. If it ain't done by Christmas, it's out of here.
Wow, I'm not waiting that long. Is it important that you save the room for when they come back? I just thought of that.
I think it should become a guest room because they're gone.
You know, I walked into this conversation feeling really positive, and now I'm really sad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say.
And Elisa hasn't called. Poor thing.
Like, I never hear from her.
So I have to say, my daughter still has her room in my home. I literally will leave her door open so that I can still even feel like she's home. I think Baki's laughing at me right now. Like, I would just walk her by her room, you know, and feel like, oh, she's home. I will make up her bed. I will keep everything the same. And the crazy thing is, you know, she does still come home because she comes home for breaks. But I refuse to make that room into a guest room, even though it is a guest room. I just had some out-of-town guests, and they stayed in her room because her room actually feels very comfy, very, you know, very warm, you know, very nice. And then, you know, we have the boys' room as the guest room, you know, because it's the biggest room in the house, and that has the guest room bathroom. But it's so funny. When I saw that part of the video, I just chuckled because I definitely did not change my daughter's room. And even though my daughter, you know, does now have her own apartment in Philly, you know, she's still on the lease, just like the boys are. They're still on the lease at my apartment. And at any time, they can come home. They still all have the keys. So even though my middle son lives in Harlem and my oldest son lives in South Carolina, I wanted them to have the set of keys so that they can come home whenever they want. I can come home and EJ can be on the couch, or he can be in his sister's room and know that he's home. I wanted them to still have that feeling. I wasn't ready completely to just take all of their things out. Because to be honest with you, as independent as they are, you know, and as much as my daughter is currently preparing to live on her own when she graduates, don't tell anyone, just between you and I. Wait, where's that other camera? Just between you and I'm hoping she'll come back home. Don't tell anybody. And the funny thing is, I don't even know if I really want them to come back home, because I'm going to tell you, now that I'm going on this 3 years, I crave for them to come home. And then every time somebody's home, 2 days afterwards, I'm ready for them to leave. Like, either there's clothes on the floor or there's a dish in the sink, and that just annoys me that I'm like, okay, when are you going home? So I don't know if I'm really wanting my daughter to come home as much as I say I want her to come home. And then once she comes home, she's going to be coming home as an adult.
Child, the power of manifestation, the power of words, honey, because that was a year ago. And guess what? Rose is home. Oh my goodness, my daughter is home finishing her last semester here in New York at home at her childhood home. And the funny thing is, I am ready for her to leave. Oh my goodness, too funny. And I love her being home, but there is something now about 3 years in that I like my peace of being by myself. I like the peace of the quietness of being responsible for, actually, as much as I don't like being responsible for chores, I like being responsible for chores because then I know everything is on me. But now when I'm sharing a space again and I see filth, or what I think is filth, because it's really not, then I'm ready to be like, didn't she see that slip on the floor? Or didn't she, like, she has a thing with this freaking yogurt, because she's on this health kick, right? So every afternoon after her workout, she comes home and she has a bowl of yogurt with some chickpeas or something. How she don't ever wash that dish? It's one bowl, but she never washes it, and it irritates the hell out of me. So anyway, back. So what did you get from that video? I tell you, I cracked myself up. Focus. What did you get from that video? What I got from that video was life as an empty nester, we have to learn how to begin to let go. It's an interesting place now to be that selective parent where they filter information to us. Last week, I spazzed on my oldest son, right? Because he shared something with his brother, my middle child, that he didn't share with me. Now, I was just down south visiting him, and he found a way to exclude me from a conversation, probably in the back of his head, knowing what my response was going to be. But the conversation didn't fly with his brother, so his brother ended up telling on him and telling me the conversation, and I ended up calling him and but in the past, where I might have been the first call, I wasn't. So being that selective parent where they choose what they want to share with you is an interesting place. But it's freeing. It's freeing. It's freeing. It really is. Let's go to another break.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
So we went into how to parent how to parent adult children. So all these shows are aired or have been aired on BronxNet, have also been aired on Brick Television, have also been aired on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and I believe a couple of the episodes were also aired on the Queens Network also. But you can really catch all of these shows on my YouTube channel to get the full insight to what we've discussed. Right now, I just kind of wanted to highlight and, like I said, recap what we've done so far. So the first show that kind of initiated this series was, again, parenting adult children. And Quinnell's check-ins allowed us to give us some tools, that was redundant. What Quinnell's check-ins did was give us some tools that we could use as we were preparing to now raise adult children, changing our tone and how we speak to our children so that what we say can now be received with them at the age that they're at now. We also did preparing for life as an empty nester and what that looks like. So now we have to change the dynamics on how we communicate with our children as they become adults. But what also happens as they prepare to leave the house or when they come back to the house, and they come back to the house as adult children. In this episode, we talked about what that looks like, and I gave some tools and suggestions on what you now can do to prepare for this celebration, but also kind of death that's happening to us, because now we're becoming that filtered parent. We're becoming that parent that is not involved in the day-to-day. So how does that now change how we do things? How does that now affect how we have this relationship with our adult children? How does that affect how we even think about ourselves? So that's what I did in this next episode. What is parenting looking like now? And I realized some interesting things, not just about myself, but where I was right now in this new next chapter. So let's check out this third video about what parenting looks like now. Rather than clearly listening, it's not for us to always have an opinion. Sometimes we're just to listen so that they can hear themselves talk it out in a trusting space. Because that's what we are as parents, right? We're that trusting space. So if they're coming to us as adults, yes, we may be disappointed. We may have our feelings on, well, if you would have did it this way, well, if you would have listened, yes, all of that is true. But at the age of 20 plus, when they are taking care of themselves, even when they make their mistakes, they're not going to hear us. They're not going to even receive what we're able to say to them if we're talking to them like they're freaking 5. And we really shouldn't even be talking to our 5-year-olds that way. The tone is important at any and every age, to everybody we talk to. We can't get messaging clear or understood if we're always at a high-pitched voice when communicating something that we are genuinely concerned about. She's not being wrong. She's not saying that she's not saying mean things, but in her delivery of not hearing, not listening, not paying attention, because you're so upset or disappointed with the action that you're like, and I've done that. So when we go back and I talk to you guys about my oldest, I love him. And yes, am I disappointed in where he's at right now in his life? But I'm not disappointed, because at the end of the day, he's still an active working adult in this world. Would I like him to do this, that, and the third? Of course, but how dare I? How dare I have expectations on someone else and how they live? What I should now be learning to do is learning myself, filling that void now of not having the day-to-day parenting and saying, hey, Catherine, parent, who are you? How do you now fill that void? Because I think a lot of times all that pent-up energy we have as a parent, where we got to be a busybody and we got to have an opinion about everything our adult children are doing, is because we still have not learned to have. So I hope that you go back and recap these videos and these shows on my YouTube channel. Because if you go back to Cornell's check-ins when she was addressing how to parent adult children, her main issue or her main suggestion was tone. Our tone in communicating with our children who are now adults. You ever heard that saying, you gotta meet people where they are? That also applies to our adult children. We can no longer, in this now parenting space, talk to them as they are adolescents, teenagers. No. As difficult as it is to admit and acknowledge, they are adults. Young adults, but adults all the same. So we have to begin to talk to them as such. And what happens is that we don't change our tone, and the relationship becomes strained, becomes distant, becomes non-existent, or becomes tolerable where they only call you to do a check-in so they don't have to hear your mouth. But do they on their own want to spend time with you? On their own, do they call you? On their own, do they think about you when they are out of the country or out of town and want to bring you back a gift? Are you thought about? Or are you annoying to them? As much as they might know that you love them, is it something that you sound like walk, 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 walk when talking to them? Or actually, are they listening? And what's the real tea? Why are we so consumed and so in our children's business and got so much to say about what they're doing as adults? You know what? You know what? You know what that is? That is avoidance. Avoidance in addressing the new elephant in the room. And the new elephant in the room is us. Because we spent so much of the first 25, 30 years of our adult life raising children to be productive adults that we didn't take that time to focus on us. So now, instead of focusing on us, which is very scary, we continue to preoccupy our minds with the business of our adult children. So what we're doing now in this new parenting now stage is actually learning ourselves, finding out what we like and what we don't like. So that is a challenge in itself. However, I wanted to give you guys a perspective from a dad, because I could talk all day. And Cornell is a female, so she's also coming from a therapist point of view, a professional point of view, but also that feminine energy. So I want to give you another video where we talked about parenting scenarios with a dad, but before we do that, let's take another break.
Yeah, I know, but look at that, it's so sad.
So yes, it's very important for us in this stage now to focus on ourselves. However, I wanted to give a male perspective, a dad perspective of what these different scenarios now that we're facing parenting adult children. And again, you remember when this show started, it was Melissa and myself. So you had that white perspective and that black perspective. And in the course of the year, as you got to know us, you kind of saw or kind of got a peek in the window that wasn't really much different between us. It was another illusion to think that things in life was different between a white woman and a black woman. And where things might at some times and points be different, the general consensus of what we go through as women was the same for her as they were for me. So I felt like bringing a dad who I respected, who I've also watched raise his children outside, of course, but also when I met him, we shared a commonality because we were two parents of the same age group of children, and we were two parents that was raising our children co-parenting with the other parent, but no longer co-parenting with that parent in the same house. So I wanted to bring him along. He's actually also a community producer, a community access producer out in Brooklyn. And that's the beauty about collaborations and working together and the village leaning on each other, because even though we are professional acquaintances, we were still able to bond in regards to parenting. So check out this video with Michael Astor in regards to how we deal with parenting scenarios of our adult children now.
Oh, that kind of dynamic.
When do you stop paying bills for your adult children?
When they start paying them for themselves.
So currently, my kids pay mostly all their bills, but I still pay their cell phone bill.
Yeah, I don't think you ever get away from, once you got your kids on your plan, you never get them off. It's just not happening.
Is that what it is?
I've
the
talked
family
to it. I've
plan?
talked around other people, yeah. And I looked at it once because Nick gets benefits and he could pay for that, and it was like it would have cost him like a bunch, and mine wouldn't have gone down that much. And I was like, so I'm going to make him pay $50, so I lose $10 or $15 on the
okay.
plan. It just seems stupid.
Okay, so that means you're still paying their
Yeah,
cell
yeah,
phone.
yeah.
Do you pay, so since Nick is still in school, but works also?
No, Nick is working. He's graduated.
So he's working, graduated, but you still paid the cell phone
Yeah.
because of the plan. Is
Yeah.
that the only thing you're paying for Nick?
As far as I could tell,
As
yeah.
far as you can, and
Yeah.
then Sophia's still in school.
Yeah.
So do you still, so she's not really a fully,
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
right. So
Okay.
I still pay a bunch of stuff for her, and and I help her out with her food at school and stuff
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
But she works a lot. She's
that's the thing. I find that these kids, not that I didn't work a lot at that age, but I also was a parent, so I feel like it was different, but though their work ethic is crazy.
Oh yeah.
They work a lot.
Oh yeah.
They make me tired with my
Yeah,
listen, they
no, I know. And Sophia's been like, she'll work 3 jobs, and then she went off to Europe. She was going to Brazil, but then she got this internship, so she's staying. But she saves money for trips and all sorts of stuff.
Isha went to Europe for spring break. She's getting ready to go to DR to, wait, my kids don't watch the show, surprise her boyfriend for his birthday.
Oh, you let the cat out of the bag.
And then she's going away for her 21st to Vegas. Like, girl, bye. But it brings tears to my eyes. I'm so proud that they are doing that they are living. My son now is going to Argentina next week with his girlfriend, who's taking the bar, I think tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
So
good
it's
luck,
like,
yeah.
they are doing a thing. Okay, this is a big one. Sex in the home.
Yeah, no problem. No, because don't be, it's like the other day.
So wait. So you're living with Sophia.
Yeah.
Sophia comes home. She's dating.
Yeah.
And you'll let her at 21 have an overnight guest.
Oh, I did when she was like 16, 17. Yeah, because
Okay.
there's a couple of reasons. One is like if you don't let them do it at the home, they'll be doing it in crazy places. I used to have a girlfriend and we'd do it up on the roof, and then one day we got caught by the maintenance bench and stuff. So it's better not to be doing that, right? Because they're
Okay.
going to do it anyway. So it's okay.
So then, do you have sex at home when they're home?
I have had sex at home, but my lady friends tend to be a little bit shy about it. Like this.
I'm too loud.
A
to have
woman
sex with
I'm seeing now. She just doesn't. She's like no, like wait. But
So has anyone ever bumped into each other in the crossing middle of the night? Because that's what that's why. That's not
well,
the
like
main
she's
reason,
got a
but
boy.
that's
She's
one of
got
the
a boyfriend. She's
reasons.
got a
Okay.
steady boyfriend.
Okay.
And so I know him. So
Right.
like if I see see him at night, it's not like a shock or anything.
Okay.
But I had to tell her. I said, she was getting all ooh like that I was having sex, and I was like, honey, I'm a sexual being. You're a sexual being. I don't go, oh, you and your boyfriend, ooh, so please.
I do that.
Okay, but I'm like, please don't do that with me.
Right.
It's like, have that.
Because I think for them, and I know for me, it was like, yes, we all know we're active, but I don't want them having the idea or hearing their mother, and I definitely don't want to hear my sons banging, and I don't want to hear my daughter.
Well, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag here, but they're quiet, okay?
So I don't know if that was a black and white thing or a father-mother thing. So I have a question for you all in the audience. I'm going to take a poll. Is that a dad thing or is that a white thing? Because I don't know. Because I can't imagine my husband allowing our daughter to have sex in his house. Even though when my daughter came back from college, we all did have this conversation about her boyfriend staying overnight, right? And she decided that, her dad was looking for a place to live, and she said, you know what, then I'll just go live with my dad. And I sat back and was like, well, is your dad gonna let you and your boyfriend sleep with each other at night? And the question was never answered But I think I asked him, and I don't remember what his response was. I don't feel like he said yes. I could be wrong. So maybe it's a dad thing, but I kind of think it's a black and white thing. Because I don't, but then I could be wrong because the first parent that I saw, the first mother, and a mother of a girl, the first mother who I saw allow her boyfriend to stay the night was Dominican. They black and white, so I don't know. Let's take a break. Oh, okay. So there were some other scenarios that we talked about. So go back to my YouTube channel and find that episode that I'm talking with Michael Astor about these different scenarios. If you thought the sex scenario was something, then check out the other scenarios that we talked about and see if there was any real difference between us as races or us as just species, him being male and me being female. So our last video, so far we've done 4 videos: parenting adult children, life as an empty nester, parenting now, and parenting scenarios. However, before we go to the last video that we've done, I actually did a couple of other videos around this topic as well. Like I said, I need you to go to my YouTube channel because we actually talked about, and I'm just gonna touch on this, I'm not gonna talk about it, but the effects of adultification and what that has done in regards to what we haven't been able to do for ourselves once becoming this empty nester. Because one of the things that I found out in the research is that because we've been so consumed with the parenting of someone else for the last 25, 30 years, we really haven't gotten a chance to, like I said earlier, examine ourselves, get to know ourselves, see what we like, don't like, develop hobbies, get into self-care, all that good stuff, right? But also, there's a reason, a stem to why we also haven't had, as women, an opportunity to get to know ourselves. From early on, we're kind of given this parental title in the household of helping our mom and our dad in the raising of our siblings who happen to be younger than us, or just the maintaining of the house. So it doesn't really allow for older children, especially the oldest child, to really develop, one, being a child, let alone getting to know who they are and what they like. So when they become now a young parent, that childhood time that it was time to get to know themselves, they were too busy being young adults that they couldn't get a chance to formulate who they were before becoming a parent. So when you check out these other videos that we kind of teased you with today, check out the YouTube channel and see these other shows that were also kind of, unbeknownst to me, spiritually, organically coming together to now form these current series of talks around parenting now adult children and what life is looking like now as an empty nester. So our last video, which is ironic, that is a visit from the first video, is another episode of Quinnell's Check-ins. And this episode was finding your purpose now as an empty nester, but also how in finding our purpose, sometimes we neglect that role because it's easier to enable our children and not focus on ourselves. So let's look at this video that we just shot with Quinnell's Check-ins, and then we'll kind of discuss it together. So here at the next chapter, where we discuss Shades of Grey, we're always about solutions. We can have the conversation. Everybody's having the conversation now. And definitely after I have the conversation, then every other show on television now wants to have the conversation. But what tools, what steps, what guides, what solutions can we give? So again, that was the purpose of having Quinnell's Check-ins. So we can have a licensed therapist assist us in this navigating part of our now life. So our last video for tonight was how to stop. enabling your child or enabling your grown child.
Yeah.
Because again, since we're not always realizing what we're doing, that keeps us away from finding our own purpose because we're still so caught up in the life of our adult children.
Right.
I know of some amazing seniors, you know what I'm saying, that I don't know if they have a life because their life seems to always be consumed with their adult children.
Or
And their
grandchildren.
their adult children and then their adult grandchildren, the children of the adults, because of still helping that adult child.
Right.
And the grandchild is really just the happenstance of the assistance that they're still helping the adult parent of that grandparent. And I wonder, I don't know, because no one knows what happens in people's house, in their house when they're by themselves, but the seniors that I know that have lived that life, I don't see much more. So I see 80-year-old women and men. My dad is included. 80-year-old men and women who don't go out, who don't have a friend network, or because their friends have now made their transitions. They're 80 years old, you know, so they're not making no new friends. They're not making new friends. They're not dating, right? You know what I'm saying? But it seems like their life have halted, but it halted 10, 15, 20 years ago. It didn't halt at 80. It halted at 50, 40 when they still doing the transition of raising their adult children. So let's go see what this, did we watch the last video already? No, we didn't. So let's go see. See, that's what, stop talking about people. You know what I'm saying? Stay focused. And I hope the people I'm talking about already watch it because they'll know who they are.
Well, maybe they'll get some tips.
And that's my hope because I think the people that I am referencing, I think they're wonderful people. You know, they are nice people that I've come to watch and learn and learn and love over a course of 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So these are people that I think I know somewhat about. So it is coming from a place of love. But I think until we're ready to hear and receive, it all sounds like negativity or judgment.
Right.
When that's not what we're doing here. We're really trying to be a guide and a support system. So no, not that we go through the trauma of, well, let's do something different from what our parents did. It's no longer about that. It's longer about what is the recipe that helps us today. Let's not yesterday. What is the recipe that helps us today? So this last, and that wasn't planned. It wasn't planned to Quinnell's check-in to start the series and then Quinnell's check-in to be like the midway part of the series coming together and being a work in progress. So that was just the spirit, holy divine, bringing it together. And how beautiful it is for now that to be brought together because now, okay, what's next? What happens now after these 5 shows that we've done, right? What's next? What is the plan for 2025? What's the plan? So the plan is, applause, thank you to the Harlem Arts Alliance. The Harlem Arts Alliance, and because I am a member, they have decided, well, not decided, they have, they've decided and allowed the KittyRose Lifestyle, the next chapter where we discuss Shades of Grey, to be our fiscal sponsor for 2024-2025 grant series of applications that I'm now presenting to the world, New York in particular, but to the world, so that we can take this work in progress on the road. And you know I said I believe in manifestation, right? So the ultimate goal, well, not the ultimate goal, but one of the goals is for these series to get picked up by the TED Talks organization and have
KittyRose
be the representation or the black face in regards to parents going through this parenting space. When I was doing the research, and I've said this before, and I don't mean to be redundant, but when I was doing the research, a lot of the same repetitive resources came from people that didn't look like me. So I felt like this is a perfect opportunity for me to fall into a place that I am successful in. I've been successful in pretty much damn near every part of my life. But the most thing I'm proud of is my relationship and what I've done so far with my children then who are now adult children. So what's next? So the plan for 2025 is I want to do a series now of studio audience shows. Students in-house. We just had it right. What is it? What did we say? studio audience shows at Manhattan Neighborhood Network. Most of my grants will be coming from, New York based, but in particular, there are some that are Harlem based grants. And even though I shoot normally here in the Bronx at BronxNet Media Labs, I am a public access producer in New York in general, in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and here in the Bronx. So as a certified public access producer in Manhattan, we want to do a series of 4 shows. 4 shows where 1, we do a studio show with parents of adult children. 2, we do a studio show with adult children. 3, we do a studio show with single parents and different races of single parents raising adult children. 4th will be one complete show where we'll combine parents and adult children. Now, all of these shows will not only have the guests, but will also have experts like Cornell, like my therapist, Dion, will come in and share their expertise so that they can guide us in a professional point of view, not just an emotional point of view of what we can do as parents in this now new space, navigating raising adult children. And the last part of this work in progress will be us accumulating surveys of what's missing for both parents and adult children. So as we give tools and suggestions on how to move forward, we might miss something. So we need surveys from the parents and the adult children of what we didn't cover, what we didn't attack, what we didn't give answers to, so that this work in progress actually makes sense. It's just not a conversation that we're having on television because it's cute or it's time of season, but it's an actual conversation that can be not just useful and helpful, but that can actually be action plans that we can use going forward so we can have beneficial, loving, righteous, complete, everything we want when it comes to our relationships with our adult children. So that's my Jesus moment. Ooh. I haven't had one of those in a moment, right? My Jesus moment is through all these things, folks, we still need the guidance of the Holy Spirit because we are still imperfect people. So as imperfect people, we are imperfect parents. So as imperfect parents, we still have a guide of the best parent of all, Jehovah God. And Jehovah God not only is the best parent because he gives us the most mercy, he gives us the most grace, unconditional agape love, forgiveness, instructions, guidance, encouragement, protection. What else doesn't he give us? He gives us everything, like a parent. But what he also gives us is, I love this part, the example of what mercy and grace looks like. Because what that mercy and grace is value from, or how we can take value in the mercy and grace, is by, like Cornell said, having grace and mercy on ourselves. This is kind of new for us. You know, parents before us, it was, what I say, go. It wasn't, well, how can I be better? What goes on in my house stays in my house. Not, let's seek therapy and talk about this as a family. So the dynamics is changing, my friends. So with the dynamics changing, the Holy Spirit gives us the patience that is needed in a new chapter that's unfamiliar. Like I said, the next chapter is where we discuss shades of gray because everything's not so black and white. So with everything not being so black and white, we need insight. And we need insight that's different from the insight that we've been given and we've been fed. Like, I don't know how many times I got to tell you, my people, the Willie Lynch syndrome just ended in 2019. So we have years, years of mind foolery. That's not what I wanted to say. I wanted to say something else. Mind going on that's stopping us from not only understanding who we are, understanding our relationship with the Creator, but also understanding our role as a parent. We think that we actually are here to tell these young people that came out of us how to live their life. That's not what we're here to do. We are here to be guides. We are a conduit that is being used. That's it. So we're their guide. We give instructions, and hopefully we would have gotten that for ourselves, but we didn't, because our parents were still damaged from the mental slavery that has been going on for centuries, way before slavery. So with this now newfound clarity of, let's talk about it, let's have conversations, let's dig deeper. Now today we can have this this window of clarity open up, so that we can make better decisions, we can make better movements, we can handle each other with care, including ourselves, as we go through these next chapters of our life. So this is what I'm going to encourage you guys to do, because this is a community effort. Go to our Facebook group page. Go to our Facebook group page. In that group page, you'll see behind the scenes conversations that I'm having with other parents, what other parents are going through in their life to help them navigate through this new space. Behind the scenes, when I'm taping this show, and how we're changing things and correcting things and making things better so that they're clearer when we give out information to you. But all of these things you can only see at our Facebook group page. So join us. Come. I ain't mad right now. I got a little over 1K members in the group, because people care about each other. Because we are a village that truly believes each one teach one. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. We not just gonna talk about it, we gonna be about it. So I need you to like, follow, and share, so that we could get the message out and continue to grow this message and understand that we all need each other. And not only do we all need each other, that we are all reflections of each other. That's why my One Woman show did so well last year, because people begin to see themselves in your story and get to feel like they're not alone, or they're not crazy in what they're going through and what they're feeling, and truly able to get some source of encouragement. And just, I don't know, just understanding that it's all a process. It's all a process. And we have to be able to, with the help of the Holy Spirit, to open ourselves up, this third eye, this gut of ours, open ourselves up so that we can hear the messages. Because we've been blinded for so many years that now it's just cluttered. Now it's just confusion. So in order for us to build, in order for us to help one another, in order for us to get this message out, like, follow, and share. Like, follow, and share, because this is the next chapter where we discuss shades of gray. And I am your host, Minister Kat, a.k.a. KittyRose. And I need you to follow, like, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make this thing go, what they call it, viral, global. Let the world know that we are ready for change. We are ready for progression. We are ready for that revolution that I call KittyRose, but it's not KittyRose. The revolution is us. Because I am you. You are me. We're together. We're reflections of each other. So join us next year, 2025. And this is a special episode. I am going to nip it, bring you back next year to the next chapter where we discuss shades of gray.
Energy, love sincerity, so I take the liberty to take them on a journey lyrically. Through hallways and alleys, dark days I carry, sharp pains and bellies. All days be heavy when you're programmed to survive. Legendary ciphers get the MCs in the jobs. The city never sleeps, slept from 1 to 5 when COVID hit the block and we had to stay inside. Tough love is all I know, so be gentle with my soul. Energy, love sincerity, so I take the liberty.